Welcome back to another Top of the Pops reaction.
One, it's late, I'm sorry. And here's some news just in.
Westlife and the Tweenies in Pop Presidential.
Oh no.
This one's definitely too close to call. It's still number one. It's Top of the Pops.
Okay, welcome back to another Top of the Pops reaction. And this one's the first. It's the first one from the noughties that I've reacted to. This one is from 20 years ago today, November the 10th, 2000. And yes, we've got Westlife and the Tweenies to look forward to. Oh god. I do pick them, don't I? And we're kicking off with Who Let the Dogs Out by Baha Men. Wow, is this song 20 years old already? Answer is yes, it is, obviously. Because this is from the year 2000. November the 10th, 2000 to be precise. I was 20 years old at the time of this episode going out. Feeling very old now, having just said that. This episode is hosted, as you saw, by Jamie Theakston. And Who Let the Dogs Out, massive hit of the time. It's novelty and it's silly, but you know, it's quite fun. It's not good music, it's not quality music, this. You can understand why it was such a big hit. I mean, I think this has been used in pretty much every Pixar or DreamWorks animated movie in the preceding 20 years. I don't think they're performing live as such, but the lead vocalist might have a live vocal. The backing music and probably the backing vocals won't be live. Some scantily clad ladies on stage now. Yep, that was the thing that still happened in the 2000s, feminists. It was a different era. Calm down. I've got no real issue with that track. I was at number 2. It is what it is, isn't it? That might end up being one of the highlights of this episode.
The singles chart. Can they do the same with the album chart this week? I think they might be able to. This is Westlife.
Right, so Westlife on, and this is an album performance, an album track. So this was something that they're obviously trying out again in this era of Top of the Pops. I don't know if you recall an episode that I reacted to, I think it was back in April, from 1971. And they had a couple of album track performances from the Faces, I think it was. And whether that was something that they brought back, like an album showcase type thing, regularly at this point in 2000, or whether they've just got Westlife to do another performance of an album track because they happen to be performing their single, which I believe will be coming on. So if you're a Westlife fan, lucky you, because I think we've got 2 Westlife performances, this one and the singles chart one later on. But as far as I can tell, it's just this one album performance. Otherwise, we'd be getting 3 Westlife performances, and you know, not even the world's most evil grandmother deserves that. So this track was, what was it called? What Makes a Man? Did this get released as a single? I've got a feeling it might have done. I mean, Westlife, they were having just number 1 after number 1 at this point, weren't they? In fact, fairly well into the decade, the 2000s or the noughties, if you will. They were having big hits. You know, this is kind of cack, innit? It's one for the mums and the grands and that girlfriend you used to have whose taste in music was appalling. You try and get her to listen to some Stone Roses or Oasis, and she'd just been to a Boyzone and Westlife. But, you know, you had a bird like that. I know you did. They've reformed recently, haven't they, Westlife? I think. I've got nothing to say about this track. Nothing complimentary, certainly. It's your standard boy band sludge. Overly sentimental, overproduced. The harmonics in their voices, yeah, fine, but that doesn't make for brilliant music. or even brilliant pop music, in my opinion. But thank you for joining me for this episode. I'm quite excited to be able to react to an episode from the year 2000 and from this decade for the first time. This will be the most recent episode that I've ever reacted to so far anyway. Whether there'll be any ones coming after the year 2000 in my upcoming schedule, we will have to wait and see. But yeah, that was off Westlife's new album. I'm not sure what the name of that was. What Makes a Man.
That is Westlife. Now, when I first met this next lady, she was naked, then all but a little bit two-faced, and now she's simply beautiful inside. Blimey, it's Louise.
Right, so this is Louise, formerly of Eternal. Louise Nerding, later known as Louise Redknapp. I think she's still known as Louise Redknapp now, even though I think her and Jamie Redknapp, the former footballer, I think they divorced a couple, 2 or 3 years ago. So Louise, she left Eternal late 90s, weren't it? Was it that 97, 98 she left that group? I didn't mind some of Eternal's stuff, to be honest. Louise left. She always kind of seemed a little bit out of place in the group. I mean, I mean, for obvious reasons. I'm not going to go into that because that might seem that, you know, I'm sort of, you know, touching upon sort of areas regarding how people look. But if you know Eternal, then you'll know that Louise kind of she stood apart from the other 3 ladies, which is fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with a mixed race group of any description, but you know, they were kind of all about soul and R&B, and then we've got sort of, you know, this white bread, rather bland, I would say, although she was the big pin-up at the time, Louise Nerding, as she still would have been here, I think. Yeah, she left. She had a fairly successful solo career for a few years, but, you know, just nothing about Louise is particularly exciting to me. You know, attractive lady, she's got an alright voice. I wouldn't say she's the world's greatest singer, neither. I think she just managed to have quite a long career, or longish, based on having fairly little talent. I think it was more about the marketing. She was sort of marketed as this sexy yet safe girl next door, really. This is rubbish, this track, really. You know, this is sort of thing, you know, you'd buy this single because you heard it on the radio, it's, oh, it's alright, and then you'd have forgotten it, like, as soon as you'd heard it. Buy it, listen to it, forget it again. It's just, there's nothing memorable about this sort of music, and I think that was the problem with Louise. Whereas Eternal, I will say, for them as a group, there was a couple of their songs that I still remember now. I wouldn't say I was a fan, it's not my kind of music really, you know, R&B tinged girl band stuff. I certainly preferred their stuff as a group, with and without Louise, than any subsequent solo efforts from Ms. Nerding, aka Mrs. Redknapp here. This is just really bland and unmemorable. She'll only be miming here as well. I don't think her voice is particularly brilliant either. As a singer, a vocalist, I think she's pretty weak, to be honest. Don't know if that gets much higher than 13. It might do.
Next, a 5-piece pop combo who
Oh God!
Individual personalities, colourful clothes, and catchy songs, but this lot won't be beaten by Westlife. It's the Tweenies.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Oh dear! Oh, I've picked one, haven't I? So this is a track called Number One. It's not at number 1. It's at number 6. Presumably a new entry at number 6 from the Tweenies. Oh dear. Well, okay, what to say about the Tweenies? I'm just full of regret right now picking this episode. I thought, oh yeah, the year 2000, that'll be interesting. I was still buying quite a lot of music at this point. I don't think I was buying as many singles as I had done in the mid to late 90s though. And judging by the state of the singles chart at the moment, in what has, let's be honest, has been a really piss-poor episode so far. When it's full of Westlife, the Tweenies, and boring Louise, then you can understand why I had really almost, I think, stopped buying singles. Well, I hadn't almost stopped, but I think I was mainly sticking to, like, sort of interesting dance music type stuff. What CD single was. So yeah, the Tweenies, they were a CBeebies show. I'm not sure if they get repeated much. They certainly were on quite a lot when my eldest daughter was a baby and a toddler. She was quite the tweenies viewer in the early and mid-noughties. I think by the time my youngest, who was born in 2010, I think it was repeated a little bit then, but I know there was some controversy when CBeebies showed an episode. I think it would have been probably either late 2012 or 2013, where one of the Tweenies characters was doing an impression of Jimmy Savile, and CBeebies repeated it, and it was obviously after everything had come out about Jimmy Savile, and yeah, that was a nice, amusing bit of controversy. Oh god. Yeah, what good can I say about this? I think he's better than Westlife. I actually think he's better than Louise, to be honest. But yeah, there's been Baha Men, which was fine for what it was, but you know, I wouldn't thank you for it. And this is obviously it's children's music in it, you know. Whereas Westlife, everyone's mum was going out to get it, and everyone's Karen was going out to get Westlife. You know, the kids, if you took them into what record stores were still going at this point, HMV, I think, and they probably sold a few singles in Tesco and things like that, and places like that at this point. You know, take your little 3-4-year-old into Tesco, they'll see Tweenies' #1 single on the shelves, they'd want it. Crafty marketing from the BBC once again.
Watch out for a Tweenies Top of the Pop special this Christmas, only on BBC One. Now, when they were very, very young, this next band's mum made them watch Top of the Pops every week, so they should know what they're doing by now. This is the Cause.
Ah, okay. So the Cause at number 20 with Irresistible. Now, I'm a Cause fan. The bad news is, I don't think this is one of their strongest singles. I don't mind it. The Cause, for me, if you look at my record collection or music collection as all their stuff, well, no, not all their stuff, because I've got some of their mini discs, but a lot of their stuff I've got on CD. So music collection. I really like The Cause, but I don't think this is their best single. It's alright, you know, this will probably end up being my favourite thing on this programme by far. This was off an album that I think was a little bit weak. For me, The Cause had peaked in what would it have been, 1998, with Talk on Corners. For me, that was a good album. But 3 very attractive ladies, of course, the Cause sisters. Andrea there on vocals, Sharon was on the fiddle, Caroline on drums, and there is Jim Core, who I think in more recent years has made a name for himself as some sort of conspiracy theorist. Jim Core, the brother there, on guitar. But this would have been off their 3rd album, which was In Blue, I believe. I've got that. Like I say, it's an alright album, but compared to the first couple of albums, it's you know, I think they'd kind of they'd peaked, really. They were sort of on the downward descent here. But this is an alright single. I mean, I'm actually enjoying this more than I expected to. Even though I know they've done better. The Cause, I think they're from Dundalk in Ireland. I think Andrea, was there any of the other sisters on that film? But Andrea certainly was. She was in the Commitments movie in the early 90s, which is a movie I really need to see. It's another one of those, every time someone mentions it and I say to them, I've not seen that, it's, oh, you'd really enjoy that. So, any fans of the Commitments, let me know in the comments, and give me some encouragement to get up off my arse and watch it. Although, I will be sitting on my arse and watching it because I don't watch movies standing up. Yeah, I guess I'm liking this more than I thought I would. When I saw that it was Irresistible, I thought, oh no, it's one of their weaker singles, and I still don't think it's one of their really strong ones, but it's decent. Was there any other singles that came after this? Breathless was the one that I think everyone remembers from this album, which came before this. There may have been one more single after this, or this might have been the last one off the album. But certainly the highlight of this rather poor episode of Top of the Pops for me so far. But I like The Cause, I am a fan. And they're very attractive ladies.
On tour this December, that's the cause. Now, our next act has penned songs for the likes of TLC, Destiny's Child and Pink, but she's not stupid, no. She's kept the best one for herself. This is Candy.
So this is Candy at number 9 with Don't Think I'm Not. Apparently she's written for Destiny's Child, TLC. I don't remember this at all. I mean, it's a weird era, this, for me. I certainly wasn't paying much attention to the charts. Like I said, I was still buying some singles. Probably mainly sticking to albums at this point and sort of dance singles that maybe I'd heard somewhere. You know, I think I was watching quite a lot of music television at this point because my parents would have got Sky Digital about a year and a half before this, so about mid 1999, and they had a lot of music stations on back then, and you know, quite a lot of specialist ones, like they had like an MTV alternative type thing that played a lot of indie, and they had MTV Bass, I think, which played a lot of dance and hip-hop and stuff. So I think that's where I discovered most of my music from sort of 1999 onwards, from the music station, the music channels, rather than radio or the top 40 specifically. And it was a good way of discovering stuff, you know. It was a good way, you know, because you wouldn't necessarily get all these indie and dance acts being shown on Top of the Pops every week. This track, it's alright. It's like, I feel like I've never heard this before until today. Even though it's a 20-year-old track. You know, I feel like I should have heard this somewhere, and maybe I did, and it was another one that's like forgettable and I just didn't realise, but I'm not familiar with this whatsoever. It's alright, this, you know, I mean, there's nothing inherently bad about it. Very upbeat kind of R&B. So it has this sort of very slight two-step / garage flavour to it, but only sort of in very small doses. Well, yeah, that was alright, fine.
Now, their debut album, Lost Souls, was arguably one of the best records of the year. With the man who told everything, this is the Doves.
Okay, Doves, not the Doves, as Jamie Theakston said, they are just called Doves. The Man Who Told Everything is at number 32. So there again, I do quite like Doves, but I haven't listened to much of what they've done. I've heard like the odd single. There Goes the Fear, which I think was a year or two after this, was one of my favourite Doves songs. That was a great single, that. This one, there again, I don't remember this at all. Doves are a sort of an alternative indie type band. They originally formed on New Order manager Rob Gretton's label, Rob's Records, under the name Sub Sub, and I think it was 1993. They had a hit with Melanie Williams. It was like a dance hit. Ain't no, oh, what was it called? Ain't No Love, Ain't No Use. That was it. And then once the Sub Sub thing had sort of been and gone, the members of Doves, with, you know, all the same guys who was in Sub Sub, apart from Melanie Williams, they kind of just changed the name and just transitioned from being a dance act, an indie dance act, to you know, being an indie guitar, indie rock act. And this track, no, it's not brilliant for me. I mean, it's obviously got more musicianship and more quality to it than Baha Men, Westlife and the fucking Tweenies, for crying out loud, but for me this is very bland. So yeah, The Cause, Irresistible, was certainly my highlight for this episode so far, and I do believe we've got more Westlife to come as well. I don't really like to sort of preview what's happening, but I think that was pretty much confirmed by Theakston earlier on, that we would see a double dose of Westlife, simply when he referred to the chart battle between Westlife and the Tweenies, which wasn't really much of a chart battle, given the Tweenies were at number 6 and Westlife well, their album I think was at #1, and I'm assuming the single's going to be at #1 as well. I can't think what single it'll be though. We will find out. If you're a Westlife fan, stay tuned, because you are going to be delighted, I'm sure. But for those of us with some actual taste in music, I do apologise, and I hopefully will be entertaining you enough with my inane chatter over these tracks to stop you from turning off and finding a better video on this here platform known as YouTube. I've got nothing overly complimentary to say about this. There again, if someone had put it on in the background somewhere, in a restaurant, in someone's house, wherever, even on the radio in the car or something, you know, it's not going to annoy me, but it's not a song that's like, oh, that's good. For me, this is quite dull, it's boring, and it seems a bit of a pity for me to say that. Dove's Manchester band, I'm a big supporter of Manchester music throughout the years, but this is just... nah. If ever a song deserved the 3-letter review, meh, I think it was this one, really. Not really bad, but nothing good about it massively either. Just painfully average to the point of boring. But better than the Tweenies, that's for sure. Although...
This week's official Top of the Pops Top 20.
All right.
Number 20, it's new for The Cause, Irresistible. At 19, Gabrielle and Should I Stay? And at 18, Coldplay and Trouble. 17 this week, Architects and Body Groove. 16, Robbie Williams and Kylie Minogue and Kids. 15's a new entry, Limp Bizkit, My Generation. 14, Samantha Mumba and Body to Body. And at 13, it's a new entry for Louise, Beautiful Inside. At 12, Anastasia, I'm Out of Love. And at number 11, Delirium with Sarah McLachlan.
I think that was a pretty good dance track.
This week, it's
Silence by Delirium.
At 9, a new entry for Candy, Don't Think I'm Not. New at number 8, Christina Aguilera, Come On Over Baby, All I Want Is You. And new at number 7, it's Nelly and Country Grammar. And debuting at number 6, The Tweenies and number 1. 5, it's Ricky Martin and She Bangs. At number 4, Martine McCutcheon and I'm Over You. Last week's number 1, Spice Girls at 3 with Holler and Let Love Lead the Way. And climbing back up to number 2, it's Baha Men and Who Let the Dogs Out. And don't miss the first play of the brand new chart every Sunday at 4, only on Radio 1.
That was a chart. That was this week's Top of the Pops. I'm Jamie Biggs. I'll tell you what, these guys, they can't stop breaking records with their unprecedented 7th consecutive number 1. This is Westlife.
7th consecutive #1. So yeah, Westlife, as we expected, #1 in the singles chart. And we've already seen them tonight performing some shit-arse album track. My Love, right, okay, yeah, I remember this. Surprisingly, a lot of stuff in that top 20, although I'm familiar with the artists, like Christina Aguilera even, Martine McCutcheon. Not familiar with the songs. Like I said, anything sort of mainstream pop related, I was ignoring, and I was focusing on the more sort of alternative and you know, dance stuff that I was able to access. So My Love, I think this is probably marginally better than that, whatever that other one was that they sang earlier, or mimed to earlier. It's mum's music, this, isn't it? And you know, if you're a mother, you know, especially if you're a MILF, then you have my deepest respect. But it's the sort of stuff that you just expect, like, just really kind of, I don't know. I'm not going to carry on with that analogy, as I don't want to offend anybody, but for me, I don't know, Westlife fans is just a certain type of person, a woman, you know. Anyway, there's Brian McFadden there. He left Westlife in, well, the early noughties at some point, wasn't it? I don't know, having never followed their career to any great length, I couldn't tell you exactly why he left or when. But I know they did alright for themselves. In fact, they did better than alright for themselves, didn't they, even after he left? In fact, I think, as I said earlier, they've reformed in more recent times. And they've reformed without McFadden. And for some reason, he's not bothered about rejoining him, even though I wouldn't say he's had a brilliant career since. I don't think he's done anything solo-wise, and I know he's done a little bit of TV presenting, but you know, whatever. So what a weird episode of Top of the Pops this has been. Nothing on here I've been massively a fan of. The Cause, I am a fan. I've got all their albums. I like them generally, but even I will admit they've had moments in their career where they've been pretty bland and unmemorable. You know, I'm not going to sit here and just totally blindly defend The Cause. Baha Men was very novelty, you know, it was big for its time, and I know people still enjoy that now. Westlife, yes, it's Mum's music, we already said. Louise was so boring, she nearly sent me to sleep. Candy, or whatever her name was okay. Doves, that was dull as ditch water. And the less said about the tweenies, the better. I've talked enough about those bloody, scary, big fuckers in this episode. Enough already. But that was Westlife with My Love. It's number 1 20 years ago today. Wow, don't you all feel old? I know I do.
Before you go, there's one other thing. Don't forget, next week is Children in Need Week, so we're going to be on BBC Two, and we'll be bringing you the brand new Madonna video.
Oh, there we are. It's cut off just as Jamie Theakston was talking about Children in Need and the Madonna video that will be premiering on next week's episode. Ignore the fact that he says that, because obviously I won't be reacting to that episode. My next reaction for these Top of the Pops commentaries series will be in hopefully early December. Touch wood. Plans do change, as you know. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you to all of my subscribers and all my patrons. And please will you join me again for my next Top of the Pops reaction video. Cheers, everyone. See ya!